On January 26th, the Church honors two remarkable figures, Saints Timothy and Titus. When you gaze upon ancient icons or the stunning mosaics in the Cathedral of Montreal, you might see a depiction of St. Paul handing over his epistles. The recipients of some of his most personal and profound letters were these two men, his closest companions and beloved spiritual sons. Their stories are not just tales from the distant past. They are powerful testimonies of faith, dedication, and the very foundation of the early Christian communities. They were pioneers, organizers, and troubleshooters sent by Paul to nurture the fledgling churches he had planted across the Roman Empire. Today, we journey back in time to uncover the lives of these two faithful servants, exploring their unique paths, their deep bond with the Apostle Paul, and the enduring legacy they left for all of us. Join us as we celebrate the lives of Saints Timothy and Titus. Let's begin with Timothy, whose name means honoring God. Born in Lystra, a city in modern-day Turkey, Timothy grew up in a household of mixed heritage. His mother Eunice and his grandmother Lois were devout Jewish women who taught him the scriptures from a young age. His father, however, was a Greek pagan. This upbringing placed Timothy at a fascinating intersection of cultures and faiths. When Paul visited Lystra on his second missionary journey, he was immediately impressed by the young man's reputation. The local Christian community spoke highly of Timothy's faith and character. Paul saw in him a promising disciple and a future leader. He invited Timothy to join him on his travels, a decision that would shape the rest of Timothy's life and the course of early Christianity. To facilitate his ministry among Jewish communities who might have been hesitant to accept a leader who was uncircumcised, Paul had Timothy circumcised. This was not a theological requirement for salvation. Paul fiercely argued against that, but a practical step of cultural sensitivity, a way to remove a potential barrier to the gospel. From that moment on, Timothy became Paul's constant companion. They journeyed together through Asia Minor, crossed the Aegean Sea into Macedonia, and preached in cities like Philippi, Thessalonica, and Berea. When Paul faced intense opposition in Berea and had to flee to Athens, he left Timothy and another companion, Silas, to continue strengthening the new believers. Timothy's youth did not deter Paul from entrusting him with immense responsibility. He was Paul's envoy, his troubleshooter, and his trusted representative. Paul's letters reveal the deep affection he held for Timothy. He refers to him as my true son in the faith and my beloved child. He sent Timothy on difficult missions, like the one to Corinth, to address serious divisions and moral issues within the church there. Later, Paul would send him to Ephesus, a major hub of pagan worship and a challenging environment for the growing Christian community. Timothy was tasked with organizing the church, appointing elders and deacons, and combating false teachings that were beginning to emerge. Tradition holds that Timothy became the first bishop of Ephesus, serving the community faithfully for many years. His leadership was so impactful that he eventually faced martyrdom. It is said that he was stoned to death after trying to stop a pagan procession in honor of the goddess Diana. Today, the relics of St. Timothy are venerated far from Ephesus, in the Cathedral of Termoli, a coastal town in Italy, a testament to the enduring reverence for this dedicated servant of God. Now let's turn our attention to Titus. Unlike Timothy, Titus was a Greek, a full Gentile. He was one of Paul's converts and became another one of his most reliable and effective collaborators. Titus's story is a powerful symbol of the universality of the Christian message. His very presence at the Council of Jerusalem alongside Paul was a living argument. The council was debating whether Gentile converts needed to be circumcised and follow Jewish law. Paul brought Titus, an uncircumcised Greek Christian, as a clear example that faith in Christ alone was sufficient for salvation. The leaders of the church in Jerusalem, Peter, James, and John, agreed with Paul, a landmark decision that opened the doors of the church to the entire world. Titus stood as a testament to the breaking down of walls between Jew and Gentile. Titus was the man Paul sent when a situation was particularly delicate or difficult. His most famous mission was to the troubled church in Corinth. This community was plagued by factions, immorality, and a rejection of Paul's apostolic authority. Paul had written a severe letter delivered by Titus, and he waited anxiously for news. In his second epistle to the Corinthians, Paul describes his immense relief and joy when Titus returned with good news. The Corinthians had repented and restored their relationship with the apostle. Paul praises Titus for his skill, his earnest care, and the comfort he brought both to the Corinthians and to Paul himself. He calls him my partner and fellow worker, highlighting the deep trust and respect he had for him. This mission showcases Titus's remarkable diplomatic and pastoral gifts. He was a peacemaker, a reconciler, and a man who could bring order and healing to a chaotic situation. After his success in Corinth, Titus was entrusted with another significant task, organizing the church on the island of Crete. Paul Dayes' letter to Titus outlines the qualifications for church leaders and gives practical instructions for teaching different groups within the community, older men, younger women, and so on. Paul left Titus in Crete to put in order what was left unfinished and appoint elders in every town. This was no small feat. Paul describes the Cretans in his letter, quoting one of their own poets, as being known for their difficult character. Yet he trusted Titus to establish a solid foundation for the church there. Tradition holds that Titus served as the first bishop of Crete, living to an old age and faithfully guiding his flock. His life was a testament to the transformative power of the gospel, turning a Gentile convert into a foundational pillar of the church. So we have two men, Timothy and Titus, both beloved sons of Paul, yet with distinct backgrounds and roles. Timothy, with his Jewish heritage, was circumcised to minister to the Jews, representing the bridge between the Old Covenant and the New. Titus, a Greek, remained uncircumcised, symbolizing the freedom from the law that comes through faith in Christ. As Pope Benedict XVI beautifully observed in these two men, we see the union of law and faith, of Jew and Gentile. Paul's decision regarding each man was not contradictory, but was guided by pastoral wisdom. He sought to remove any unnecessary obstacle to the gospel. For the Jews, Timothy's circumcision showed respect for their heritage. For the Gentiles, Titus's uncircumcised state affirmed that salvation was a free gift, not earned by works of the law. The letters Paul wrote to them are unique within the New Testament. They are known as the pastoral epistles, and they are filled with practical advice, theological depth, and profound personal affection. Paul advises them on everything from church leadership and worship to dealing with false teachers and living a life of godliness. He encourages the often timid Timothy to fan into flame the gift of God, not to be ashamed of his faith, and to guard the good deposit of truth entrusted to him. He instructs Titus to teach sound doctrine and to be a model of good works. These letters give us an intimate glimpse into the heart of the Apostle Paul, not just as a brilliant theologian, but as a loving spiritual father, mentoring and preparing the next generation of leaders to carry on the mission. The legacy of Saints Timothy and Titus is one of extraordinary service and quiet faithfulness. They were not among the original 12 apostles, but their work was absolutely essential for the growth and stability of the early church. They were the ones on the ground, building communities, resolving conflicts, and nurturing faith in the hearts of new believers. They embodied the spirit of generous service, answering the call to go wherever the gospel needed them, no matter the difficulty or the personal cost. They show us that leadership in the church is not about power or prestige, but about humble service, pastoral care, and a deep love for the people entrusted to you. Their lives are a model for all who are called to lead and serve, reminding us that the strength of the church is built on the dedication of faithful individuals working together for the sake of the gospel. Thank you for watching, and may the example of Saints Timothy and Titus inspire us all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with others.